How is your LinkedIn page doing? Is it perhaps failing to generate B2B leads and growth that you need? Maybe you're struggling to engage your target audience effectively? In this episode of Strategy Talks, uncover the latest strategies to transform your LinkedIn page and your presence into a powerful engine, maybe for business growth, community building, and thought leadership in 2025 and beyond. This is Strategy Talks. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, I am back with another episode of Strategy Talks. I am so excited to be here today. I think today's guest is somebody probably the furthest away you can be from Vermont. So I am going to bring onto stage with me Michelle. How are you today, Michelle?
I am fabulous, and g'day from the land down under. I'm here in Sydney, where we are literally in polar opposites directionally and also the weather. So I'm melting, you're freezing, and we're going to do this anyway.
I know, LinkedIn page strategies. What can go wrong, right?
Well, and full confession for those of you who are out there going, I've been neglecting my company page. It's okay. It's more common than uncommon, and I'm not here to judge.
All right. Excellent. Well, I think a lot of times we just don't know what it can do, what it will do, what we should do, what we should not. So let's talk about how LinkedIn pages have evolved in maybe the last year. And is there anything new and exciting that you see right now or that you're excited about in 2025?
Yeah, there is a lot going on with company pages. And like I said, they're kind of the forgotten lost cousin that you kind of know are there, but most people are like, yeah, but if I do a post on my company page versus my profile will go further every day of the week. So why would I bother? And I'm sure we're going to cover and answer that question as well. But with company pages, kind of funny, I've been talking about them for about 5 years. And that's when I started my business, and I looked into it and went, why is no one else in the world talking about this topic? And it was important to me because I grew my amazing personal brand and community in an industry I worked for, did the classic, oh, I'm changing jobs. And the company that I left got left with no presence on LinkedIn. So they hadn't been building their company brand. And so that's why it was really important to me. But when I looked around, there was nothing but negative press for company pages. And even the company pages team only had 5 people at that time, roughly. Now that's now 45. Now what changed? Why did LinkedIn all of a sudden wake up and go, hey, we've got this thing called company pages. Why don't we give it some love? And what happened was COVID. Right? COVID changed the game. So all of those people who had their advertising spend on all of the other platforms brought it across to LinkedIn, spend billions of dollars, record ad spends. You need a company page to run ads. And so all of a sudden there was a lot more attention on them. And so we've seen some pretty significant changes in a short period of time for company pages to kind of give them a bit of love and make them more user-friendly, because they were a hot mess back in the beginning for page admins. Give us more features to use in line with what's going over on the personal side. And obviously we're seeing a bit of an evolution going on this year with things like company pages premium, which I'm not sure I'm a fan of, but it seems to be the way that LinkedIn's going.
Well, everybody wants money, right? I mean, isn't that the case? I have a funny story about LinkedIn pages. I started my journey as a social media marketer more than 14 years ago. And one of the things I did was make a company page, even though at that time it was a company of one. And I had that page for like 8 or 9 years, and I just wasn't posting to it, didn't really know what to do with it, didn't really care. So I deleted it. And then COVID happened. I think I literally deleted it like 2 months, like probably January 1st of 2020, when I did one of those strategic things like, this is something that feels like it's like a chain and ball on my leg. I'm not really doing anything. It's better to not be there than be there and not be active. I deleted it, and then COVID happened. So yeah, that's my story. So now I have a page, and so I am ready to learn and do more with it. In the meantime, yes, I've seen the same thing as you, the advertising and all of that stuff. So what are you most excited about LinkedIn page right now? Like
I would
what excites you the most about what you can do with it?
look, hands down, it's one of two things, and I'm going to pick one. I'm going to go with LinkedIn newsletters. Now, I know that they're not exclusive to company pages, and quite frankly, most of the features cross over between personal and company page. But why am I loving these so much? Well, number one, I'm a big fan of long form content because, in the B2B space, which I operate mostly in, is we are trying to get people to part with big amounts of dollars. Typically B2B sales could be 50,000, could be 500,000, could be millions, and so ultimately I love that it gives us an opportunity for us to expand our thoughts and help people make those buying decisions. But why do I love them so much for company pages in general is we know that when you scroll the home feed, like I am not oblivious to the fact that if you jump onto your phone or desktop and start scrolling, you'll see probably 4 or 5 personal posts, a paid promotion from a company page, same thing again. And then way down the bottom, you might see one organic company page. And so that's not going to change. That's just getting harder and harder for page admins to show up in the home feed. So newsletters for me and building up those subscribers so that when we send one out, it's going to all of those subscribers and we're not fighting in the feed. I think it really has to be a part of most company pages. Now, that's not to say company pages are the right thing for everybody out there. And exactly like you said, consultants, small businesses, you are not going to spend all of your time over on your company page. Absolutely not. I would be crazy if I gave you that advice. But we do need a presence, like you said, so it doesn't look like a ghost town. But yeah, LinkedIn newsletters, lots of cool ways that we can use it, indexed by Google. And most importantly, it's that first one that goes out to all of your page followers. Make it the good one, because ultimately, in what I'm seeing from myself and my clients, you can expect to get roughly 30% of your page followers to become subscribers. So if you think about that, that's a pretty good engagement rate, down the track when you're posting them. So yeah, that's why I'm a huge fan of them, especially for pages.
I love that. And I have seen the same. I've recommended it. Some of my clients are repurposing their company blog articles as newsletters or to send them out. And when I look at the analytics, and I know we're going to talk about analytics in a minute, but you can see the peaks, right? So I send out the newsletter and there's the peak. And so no matter what day it is, I can literally every week. So I have one client we're sending out 2 a week because the peaks are there. And then the thing that you just said, if you didn't listen, guys, Michelle said it's indexed by Google. I think that's really important because when you Google somebody else or you Google yourself incognito, LinkedIn ranks very high, probably above Instagram, your TikTok account, your Facebook. At least the last time I looked, LinkedIn ranked higher than all of that. And so those articles, I have a client whose LinkedIn articles, which are the same as on their website, the LinkedIn articles rank higher because we've repurposed that content. So I love that you brought that up because I think that is definitely something that I see as well. So, and I'm not necessarily a lot in the B2B space, but I'm seeing that as well. So let's talk about the elephant in the room and AI and LinkedIn pages. You knew I was going to ask you about that. What do we need to know about what to do, but more importantly, what not to do when we talk about LinkedIn pages and AI?
The same as what's going on across the platform. Like what I'm finding is where company pages had a content problem. Let's be clear, most people don't enjoy following company pages because the content out there is all about the business. It's boring as you can imagine. It's worse than watching grass grow. I like watching my grass grow. This is horrendous where people just talk about themselves, trying to make the business sound important. And so when you go to tools like ChatGPT or like any of the other generative AI, to create content for the company page. It takes the average of the average that's out there on the internet and then puts that forward, and then people are posting more and more below average content. So I think it's even dropped further now, even though people are trying harder and have this real goal to possibly be a bit more consistent and have these tools help them be more consistent, which I'm a big fan from that perspective. But the reality is they've lost their personality.
Mm.
There is no differentiation, like there is no creativity. And so that bland content, when it finally shows up in the home feed, of course, people are going to keep on scrolling. And typically it is over branded. It looks like an ad. It smells like an ad. And if you've got zero interest and it's boring, what do? We just keep scrolling. And so what I'm finding is, as much as I love the idea of these cool tools, and there is potential there, but if we just say, write me a LinkedIn post on this, the output just is, I don't even have, I'm lost for words, and I'm not lost for words very often, but I'm trying to think of something lovely to say in the nicest possible way to say, I appreciate people are trying. But on a company page, I think if you don't put some personality into it, it's just so bland. And if you can't get that attention, then people just keep scrolling, and it's that brand that's going to build demand. And that's what's most important with your page.
And how about AI comments? We're talking about content. How about comments? Do we see them on pages too?
If there is anybody that is listening or watching this episode and you are using AI commenting tools, I am going to hunt you down, because they are the scourge of LinkedIn right now, especially those company pages, because we can't block them as easily as you can block or unfollow, other people. And so there's really bad players out there that are making this so easy to do, and it jeopardizes your LinkedIn account in general. So I'm not a fan of any automation tools, as much as I love the concept and I would love some help, but just keep those kind of things in mind. But yeah, going and spamming somebody else's post is uncool. I don't care how you get there, it's uncool. So as a company page, please don't do that. But on the flip side to that, if we're talking strategy, I absolutely want company pages out there commenting to build their brand. And it's like a little signpost that says, come back and find out more. But if you're doing it on your competitors or doing it in, uncool ways that really take away from the conversation, then just cut it out. I have no other words. Just cut it out.
Well, you have a perfect lead into, I was going to talk about community, building community. So talking about commenting in the right places. So let's not do it on our competitors. Let's not use AI. What are some best practices, Michelle, on how to build community using a page?
Yeah, I think for community, there's a couple of different elements to it. So number one, you need the right page followers. So every month we get 250 page invite credits, which is great. You can go and invite people to follow your company page. And you'll typically find an influx of those invites go out around the first of the month, and we get bombarded with them. Now, I love those invite credits because it's a really great way to help people grow their page fast. But what doesn't work is when people don't use those invite filters and start targeting their audience. There is no point in targeting me if I'm not part of your basically strategic audience that you're trying to build. So we're going quality over quantity absolutely every day of the week when we're building those numbers. So use the filters first and foremost. Now
And
that we've got
for
the right
those,
audience.
can I interrupt you? For those
Sure.
of people who've never used those invites, when you're a page manager, you can have those invites, right? And so say you have 8 managers together, the 8 of you have 250 invites.
That's right.
And then the filters, what kind of things does it filter? I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
No, don't
there's
be.
lots of people who don't know about this feature. And I think it's a shame because I do use it for my clients, and I get the other administrators involved in doing that and using the filters. Can you explain that a little bit more, how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing I'm going to explain is how you can find them, because one of the recent update changes to the page admin layout moved it around, and where it was once prominent in the top right-hand corner and always in your face and reminding you, now it's in the left-hand menu pretty much all the way down the bottom. So it'll say invites to follow. it will give you 250 every month. For every person that accepts it, then you get a credit back again. So this is why being targeted also has another advantage. And you're right, it's shared between the page admins. So they're the ones that can invite their first degree connections. Now, when we go in there, we'll give you a list. This is the world's most clunkiest process that I have tried my hardest with the Pages team to ask them to improve the layout of this feature because it's horrendous. It's a one by one kind of process that we're doing here. So you can do it by industry, you can do it by location. And I love that you could do it on a level like I could do Australia, I could do my state that I live in, I could do my local towns. So you have a lot of flexibility for those businesses that might be more, concentrated in different geographies. So that's a cool way to do it. You also have ones like for industries. So for instance, you can target a particular industry. It might be the legal industry that your business focuses on. Cool bananas, you can go and find all of your first degree connections that are in that industry. So use those filters. It's also got things like education, so different schools that people might have been to. I don't find that one as useful. I wish we could do job titles, but I can only imagine what that would be like for every CEO, every chief of or director of in the world would just be getting bombarded all the time. So from their perspective, I can see why we can't do that. But ultimately, from that perspective, use them wisely, because when you build a strategic community, and then the second piece to that is create content that community will find valuable. And what do I define as valuable? Because it's a pretty generic term. Something that helps them move towards their goals in their business on their side. So everyone that you're targeting on the other side has things that give them headaches every day. They have KPIs that help them earn more money, typically, bonuses, achievements, promotions. Think about what can you do that will help them get closer to their goals, help them make confident buying decisions. This is the goal of your company page content. It is not about talking about the business like we're so amazing. Like, yes, we know, it's just a given. Your business is amazing. Just like your competitors say they're amazing. That's not helpful. That's not helping you build a community where people go, I know when I see that content, I feel seen. I can see why they're different, and I can see how they help me get towards what I want. And that may not be something they need today, but we're planting that seed ready for when they're ready. And so when they are, who do they think of? Your business, because you've had that company page ticking over.
That's awesome. And now that we're talking about content, I would love to know your take and your advice on video. On LinkedIn pages, right? We know, and if you've been living on the rock, maybe you don't know, but LinkedIn's really put in a lot of effort, money, and new features on video. In 2024, they introduced a video feed for mobile. Now the video feed is visible on your profile on desktop. And so what's happening with video on pages? I'm really not as well versed to what's happening there. So I would love for you to fill us in. What can we do with video?
Yeah, look, right now, as much as LinkedIn say that they're kind of pushing it from across the board, from what I've seen, when I go into the suggested feed with the videos, and that we're talking short form, vertical formats for people who may not have seen it, but yes, they put so much money into it. If you go in there, you tend to see it from LinkedIn's news partners like Bloomberg or CNN or big brands like that. And that's like part of another strategy that they've got going on. I don't see it too often from just individual company pages from not huge brands. But I have to confess, I don't spend a lot of time in that feed. It's not for me. I know that there's big opportunities. I've seen your posts where you're getting millions of impressions, and I love that. But for me personally, I just don't enjoy that format of content here on LinkedIn, and so what I would say when it comes to company pages, what's my opinion? I've always judged LinkedIn company pages by where LinkedIn's spending money. Now, where are they investing, or where are they going to make money? And when I look at it, they release new ad types, and those new ad types typically, and all the conversations that they're talking about, tend to talk about vertical formats. They want people to eventually pay ads. So you can't see ads in that feed right now, but you can be sure as heck that they're coming. Like, no doubt.
They are.
Right. So right now we don't see them, but absolutely, that's like a whole new income stream for them. So I've noticed that. And also, whilst it's not in that video feed, they're pushing new ad types for LinkedIn Live. So that's the other reason why I'm a big fan of LinkedIn Lives. I've loved them. I'm like you, I've been doing them pretty much for the last 5 years. I think they're an amazing community building tool. But why do I think that LinkedIn will continue to push them for pages? Well, it's this simple. They now give you ads that you can do before to promote, during to promote, and after to promote your LinkedIn Live. So if LinkedIn Lives don't work or aren't a good experience for company pages, then they'll miss out on all of those opportunities. So I still think that they're going to see it. Now, I don't do, anything with LinkedIn or page strategies. I'm 100% organic, but I watch where these things are happening because I'm like, okay, you keep releasing information about newsletters and you keep talking about LinkedIn Lives. And so obviously these kinds of things, and I think the only other thing is that B2B thought leader type ad, which is where a company page can sponsor an individual's post. And I think when you can do those kind of things for short form video, we'll see that just keep blowing up. LinkedIn's done their research. The platform's 65% Gen Z. They love that kind of format of content. So it's not going away, but who knows? Pinned comments was a great feature and it disappeared.
Wow, for
Rest in
sure.
peace.
So I agree with you on the LinkedIn Live, and I was looking for a feature, and somebody told me that somebody actually in Australia already has it, but it's the going live on LinkedIn without a third party app. I'm hoping they're going to push that. I hope it's coming. There are times, and I know I use StreamYard, so I can go on my phone on StreamYard. It's just clunky. And then I'm in a browser instead of, in the tool. So I would love to see that. I think LinkedIn Live really is truly amazing. But let's go to, we don't have that much time left, believe it or not. I think you and I could talk for hours, but let's talk about data. What if somebody has a LinkedIn page, they are working on a growth strategy, they're building community, they're willing to do video, maybe lives, put out a newsletter. What kind of data should they be looking for? What kind of analytics do LinkedIn pages offer? And what kind of growth should a B2B company expect when they start putting some effort and money, perhaps, behind their LinkedIn page?
I'll go with effort first because,
Okay.
as I said, I focus on organic. So, and I think most of the audience will be focused on that as well. So, what do I look at? And full confession, 2 hands up in the air for those that are listening. I am not a huge analytics fan. I have never been. But there are some things that I do pay attention to. So number one, I want to make sure I'm building the right community. So when I'm going into analytics, which there's some really cool analytics on company pages, probably one of the things that they do really well, there's still room for improvement, but you've got a lot of insights, is I want to make sure the demographics are right. And you can see things like, by leadership levels, by company sizes, by industry. These are the kinds of things that I want to make sure, is my target audience part of my page followers? Am I attracting the right audience that I want to work with? So, and if the answer to that is yes, then your content's going to resonate better, which means you'll get better results. So everyone wants to look at things like impressions and follower growth. They're pretty stock standard company page admin KPIs that everybody's measured on. And so if I'm looking at those, we'll just park those for a minute because they're pretty much a given. But I'd also look at the engagement rate. And I was asked the other day, what do I think is an engagement rate that people should be looking for on a company page? Now, I would expect for someone that's putting a bit of effort into them, you're probably going to be sitting between 10 and 15%. Right? If you're not, it's going to be sub 2%, and so we do have to put more effort in. We do have to make sure that we're doing things strategically and creatively and differentiate ourselves, like I was saying before. And ultimately, when I'm looking at that, I tend to find that the numbers take care of themselves. And if you're sending out those invite credits, I think, and I haven't done the numbers for a little while, but typically it was 250 go out. You'll probably grow your page by around 80 to 100, right? So not everybody's accepting them. Not everybody is going to become a follower. But one of the cool things it can do with company pages is you can have a competitor analytics. So you can name up to 9 other competitors and have a look and see how many times they're posting or what are the types of follower growth that they've got. So when I look at similar businesses to mine and friends of mine who are running those businesses and we have conversations, we're all sitting in around those numbers, and I know that they're sending them out reasonably consistently. So you might be thinking, oh God, that's not really a lot, but realistically, I'm not asking company pages to end up with like these huge numbers of page followers. I think most pages are probably going to be landing between 2 and 4,000. That's probably like a sweet spot. I think a little less than that, it's not enough to have a reasonable impact, but you're not trying to end up with hundreds of thousands of page followers for most businesses, and I get that we could have people from global organizations and big well-known brands that build their brands so much off LinkedIn that some of that just reflects, across on the platform. So for me, definitely looking at demographics and engagement rate are the two that and keep an eye on your competitors. I do it purely and simply because I realize sometimes I get busy and I forget to look after and nurture my company page. And so sometimes that's the kick up the butt that I'm like, oh my God, I only posted that many times. What system's broken down? And so I need to, get back into that. And repurposing is your friend for your company page.
I love that. I love that. So that actually is a great kind of ask for me as the last question, right? So I've seen this push. We're in the beginning of 2025. I've seen this push for people, especially B2B companies saying, and I agree. I have a client who's in the B2B space where the founder of the company is doing short form video, is putting thought leadership posts out there, and some of those can be repurposed on the business page. Is that a strategy that you see that works? Are there any other strategies that you can think of that would be helpful? You just said repurposing, you said inviting people, building community, engaging. Is that a strategy that works? And is there anything else that we might have missed that you would like to put out there for people to think about?
Yeah, I think if you reframe your company page as the greatest hits library, instead of trying to use it as something that's going to show up in the feed and deliver results that way, basically, I want you to think, how can I have the best of the best content that I've created? And that can be personally yourself or any of the employees. I'm about to, create a talk on page advocacy. So we often talk about, let's go get the employees active to talk about the brand. And that's great. But have you ever tried to actually get teams active on LinkedIn? I love that people think it's just like flip this switch. Even if they do training, they're petrified of LinkedIn. 9 out of 10 people don't want to be out the front of a brand and active. So the cool part about company pages is quite a lot of those people will be happy if it goes out under the company brand and not their own name. And so it can often be a great place to start. But I say create it as a greatest hits library so that if someone lands there as a destination, like you said earlier, we can discover and do our research on Google or other platforms like that. And then what's happening is you've got your website shows up first. We piggyback off LinkedIn's reputation and our company page will probably show up second. And then if they come across that way, just making sure that they find really useful and valuable stuff. And probably useful is more important because then people can take actions.
Right.
Actionable type content is what works. People are looking for those insider tips that you as an organization have access to so many more subject matter experts that are living and breathing this. And for those of you who are consultants or small business owners that are wondering, should I be doing this? Absolutely, because you can take the content that you created personally and post it over on your company page, a little bit later on. You got 2 different audiences, 2 different chances, and it's one less time that you have to create content. And, I read some stats that people, content marketers are spending up to 33 hours per week creating content. I'm like, do these people sleep? Like, when are they eating? I'm worried about them. I'm really worried. So repurposing, especially on your page, is your friend.
I love it. I love it. All right, Michelle, we are at the end. Tell us how, I'm assuming you're on LinkedIn. Where can they find you? And also, you've got a book. I'm going to, for those of you who are watching, it's called Business Gold: Build Awareness, Authority, and Advantage with LinkedIn Company Pages. She's holding up the book for those of you who are listening and not watching. You can find it on Amazon. Michelle, where can people meet you?
Well, that's the exciting part. I can actually say I'm going to be hitting the road very soon and heading overseas to speak at some conferences. So I am hoping I'll actually get to meet some of your listeners and watchers face to face. Now, where will I be? I'm going to Uplift Live in the UK at the end of March. So that's the first stop. So shout out to anyone that's in that part of the world. The day after that finishes, I jump on a plane. I'm heading to San Diego for Social Media Marketing World. So I can't wait to go back there again. So please, if you see me, I'm typically a deer in headlights. So come up and say hi. I promise I don't bite. I am not up on some pedestal like some people have said. I was like, no, please just say hi. And then after I get home from that, so that's one loop of the world for company pages. That's how much I love them. I'm going to Denmark 6 weeks later to speak at the Linked Summit. And so that's a wonderful, it's a wonderful conference. And, especially if you speak Danish, which I do not, but shout out to Richard Vanderblom and Jasmine Alich will be there as well. So excited to get back there and share. But that's how important company pages are to businesses out there. It is your tool for building your business brand on LinkedIn, which is equally as important as building those personal brands out there. So it just works differently. If I could leave one piece of advice as we wrap up, don't compare apples and oranges. They're different. They work different and they're intended to work differently. So no point in comparing the two and going, it's a waste of time putting effort into your company page when you can do so much over here. So what happens if your business grows in the future? You employ people, you want to sell that business, and it's all under your personal brand. It becomes much more difficult. So, just think maybe not now, but maybe in the future things will change. And so it's worth just having things tick over just in case.
I love it. And I should have had that advice in 2020 and just kept it just in case, but I'm rebuilding. We're all good. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being with us today on Strategy Talks. I'm sad that this year I won't be in San Diego because otherwise we could have met up in real life. But another year, another opportunity. But you will have a blast. I've been there many times, and it's an amazing conference. And I did speak in the UK last year. You'll love the UK. And yes, absolutely. I absolutely love that you're going to that conference in Denmark too. It's on my list of things that maybe one day I'll be able to go. I'm from the Netherlands, so it's close to Denmark, not quite there. But one of these days I'll be able to make it there as well. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much to all of you who stayed to the end to watch and to listen. Shout out to my podcast listeners. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Thank you so much, Michelle, once again, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.